Good morning students. Today we will start a new chapter, chapter 3, Atoms and Molecules. As the title suggests, in this chapter we will learn about atoms and molecules. What are atoms and molecules? Now, in ancient times, many Indian and Greek philosophers have wondered about the indivisible and unseen form of matter. They did a great research and study in order to find out that what are the smallest particles or indivisible particles or building blocks from which matter is made up of. Around 500 BC, there were two Indian philosophers named as Maharishi Kanad and Pakudha Katyayama. Maharishi Kanad postulated that if we go on dividing the matter, then we will reach a stage where finally we will get smallest particles or building blocks from which matter is made up of. That smallest particles are the indivisible particles which cannot be divided further. So they are the smallest particles, indivisible particles from which matter is made up of. Maharishi Kanad named these particles as Parmanu. Then Pakudha Katyayama, one more Indian philosopher, added one more point or elaborated his theory, his doctrine. Whatever he said, that was accepted by Pakudha Katyayama. He also believed that if we go on dividing the matter, then finally we will reach a stage where we will get the smallest particles, indivisible particles from which matter is made up of. Okay, Maharishi Kanad called these particles as Parmanu, and then Pakudha Katyayama postulated that these Parmanu or smallest particles combine with each other to form various forms of matter like molecules. So according to Pakudha Katyayama, these Parmanu combined with each other to form molecules. And about molecules we will study but later in this chapter. Around the same era, there were two Greek philosophers, Democritus and Leucippus. These two Greek philosophers postulated the same theories given by Maharishi Kanad and Pakudha Katyayama. They also said that if we go on dividing the matter, then ultimately we will reach a stage where we will get the smallest particle, indivisible particles from which matter is made up of. Maharishi Kanad called these particles Parmanu. Democritus called these particles atoms. Atom is a Greek word which means indivisible. So it concludes that atoms are the smallest or indivisible particle from which matter is made up of. Now, they also said that these atoms combine with each other to form molecules. Now, laws of chemical combination. In this category, we will study two laws. First one is law of conservation of mass, second one is law of constant or definite proportion. Law of conservation of mass, which was given by Antoine L. Lavoisier. This law states that mass neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So, in any of the chemical reactions or chemical changes, mass remains constant, remains conserved, it remains same. It means before reaction, total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products after reaction. So, total mass of the substances remain same, constant, conserved in a chemical reaction. No new mass is created and no old mass is destroyed. Mass remains constant, conserved or same. This is law of conservation of mass. For this, we can perform an activity. Now, in this activity, we will take a conical flask. In this conical flask, we will take aqueous solution of copper sulfate and we close its mouth with a cork or rubber cork. Then we tie a small ignition tube. It's a small glass tube with the help of a thread with the rubber cork. This ignition tube contains aqueous solution of sodium carbonate. Now, weigh the contents of beaker, means you have to measure the weight of the contents of the beaker. Just note down the weight of the contents of the beaker. After that, tilt the conical flask and swirl it so that its aqueous solution of sodium carbonate is mixed with aqueous solution of copper sulfate. As a result, a chemical reaction takes place between the two and new substances or products are formed. After that, again weigh the contents of the conical flask. Now, compare both weights, both masses before and after reaction. What do you find? We find that weight or mass before reaction and after reaction are same, remain conserved or constant. So, this shows that in a chemical reaction, no new mass is created and no old mass is destroyed. Mass remains same, conserved, constant. Okay? So, before reaction, total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products after reaction. So, this is proved that in a chemical reaction or change, mass neither be created nor destroyed. It remains same or conserved. Okay. Now, I will give you one more example. See, C plus O2, CO2. When carbon is burnt in the presence of oxygen, then it reacts with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide. Here, mass of one carbon atom is 12. Mass of one oxygen atom is 16. Here, there are two oxygen atoms, so it is 16 into 2, 32. 12 plus 32 is 44. So, what is the mass of carbon and oxygen? What is the mass of both reactants? It is 44. The SI unit of atomic mass is U. that is unified mass, that we will study afterwards. Now, mass of carbon here, one carbon atom, so the mass of one carbon atom is 12 plus 2 oxygen atoms, mass of 2 oxygen atom is 32, so here also 44U. It means before reaction, total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the product after reaction. So it shows that in a chemical reaction or change, mass neither be created nor destroyed. It remains same, it remains constant or conserved. This happens because number of atoms of each element in reactant and product side are same. So if number of atoms of each element in reactant and product side are same, then it is obvious that their total mass remain same. According to law of constant or definite proportion, which was given by Joseph L. Proust, in a chemical substance, elements are always present in definite or constant proportion by mass. Now, if there is a given particular chemical substance or compound, then it does not matter where that compound or substance has come from. What is the source of that substance or compound? By which method it has been prepared? These things do not matter. The thing which matters is that in a particular substance, elements are always present in definite or constant proportion by mass. For example, if we have water as a chemical substance or compound, then it doesn't matter from where that water has come. It can be collected from sea, ocean, river, it can be tap water, it can be collected from well. So whatever the source of water is, it doesn't matter. And by any of the methods you have prepared it, it also doesn't matter. The thing which matters is that it is water, a particular chemical substance in which hydrogen and oxygen, these two elements are present. So from anywhere, from any source, by any method, you can have water. In that water, in that particular given chemical substance, only these two type of elements will be present, hydrogen and oxygen. And their proportion by mass will also be fixed, will also be definite or constant. What is that? There are two atoms of hydrogen. Mass of one atom of hydrogen is 1, then mass of two hydrogen atoms is 2. And mass of one oxygen atom, here one oxygen atom, so mass of one oxygen atom is 16. So if that chemical substance or compound is water, then it is definite, certain that in water, hydrogen and oxygen, these two elements will be present in the ratio 2:16. Now simplify this ratio, 1:8. So hydrogen and oxygen will be present in water in the ratio, in the proportion 1:8 by mass. It means in water 1 part of hydrogen is there with 8 parts of oxygen, or we can say 1 gram of hydrogen is there with 8 grams of oxygen to form 9 grams of water. If you decompose this 9 grams of water, then you will again get 1 gram of hydrogen and 8 gram of oxygen. Similarly, you have carbon dioxide. From any source, from any place, you can collect carbon dioxide. By any method you can prepare it. If you have carbon dioxide as a chemical substance, then it is definite, it is certain that it has carbon and oxygen as elements which are present in the ratio or proportion. What is the ratio or proportion? Carbon. Here only one carbon atom is there. What is the mass of one carbon atom? I told you already, it is 12. 2 atoms of oxygen are there. 1 atom of oxygen has mass 16. Then 2 atoms of oxygen have mass 32. Simplify this. You will get 3:8. It means from any source, by any method, you can collect carbon dioxide. If you have carbon dioxide as a chemical substance, then it is definite or certain that it has carbon and oxygen elements in the ratio or proportion of 3:8 by mass. Means 3 parts or 3 grams of carbon are combined with 8 parts or 8 grams of oxygen to form 11 grams of carbon dioxide. Okay, one more example, ammonia. Ammonia is also a chemical substance. If you have ammonia as a chemical substance, then it is definite or certain that it has nitrogen and hydrogen as elements which are present in the ratio or proportion. See, 1 atom of nitrogen has mass 14 and 1 atom of hydrogen has mass 1. Here 3 atoms of hydrogen are there, so mass of 3 hydrogen atoms is 3. It is the simplest ratio. Now, it means that if you have chemical substance or compound ammonia, then it is certain or definite that it has nitrogen and hydrogen as elements which are present in the ratio or proportion of 14:3 by mass. Okay, so law of constant or definite proportion states that in a chemical substance, elements are always present in definite proportion by mass. Now one more thing, according to law of constant proportion, elements are always present in definite proportion by mass. So if we have water as a chemical substance, then according to law of constant or definite proportion, it has hydrogen and oxygen elements in the ratio or proportion of 1:8 by mass. Means 1 part of hydrogen combines with 8 parts of oxygen. Now, if there are 2 parts of hydrogen, then how many parts or grams of oxygen is required for 2 parts of hydrogen or 2 grams of hydrogen to react? If 1 part or gram of hydrogen requires 8 parts or grams of oxygen to form 9 parts or grams of water, then by unitary method 2 parts or grams of hydrogen will require 8 into 2 means 16 parts or grams of oxygen to form 18 grams or parts of water. Now simplify this ratio, you will get 1:8, same. Now there is one more question. See, in water, hydrogen and oxygen are present in the ratio or proportion of 1:8 by mass. It means 1 part of hydrogen requires 8 parts of oxygen, or I can say 1 gram of hydrogen requires 8 grams of oxygen to form 9 grams of water. If for this 1 gram of hydrogen, I will provide 10 gram of oxygen, then how much gram of water is formed? According to law of constant or definite proportion, in a chemical substance, elements are always present in definite or constant proportion by mass. So, accordingly, in water, hydrogen and oxygen are always present in 1:8 by mass. They are always present in this proportion only by mass. It means 1 part of hydrogen or 1 gram of hydrogen always reacts with 8 parts or 8 grams of oxygen to form 9 grams or parts of water. If you will provide more oxygen, like 10 grams oxygen to the hydrogen, it doesn't matter, because 1 gram of hydrogen requires only 8 grams of oxygen. So, this 1 gram of hydrogen will react with only 8 gram of oxygen out of 10 gram of oxygen to form 9 grams of water. So, rest of the 2 grams of oxygen or extra 2 grams of oxygen which you have provided, that will remain unreacted. So, this is about law of constant or definite proportion. John Dalton was a scientist who gave few postulates or points in regard with atoms. There are 6 postulates or points in his atomic theory which we are going to learn. So, in very first postulate, he said that all matter are made up of very small tiny particles called atoms which participate in chemical reaction. Now, second postulate, atoms are indivisible particles. It is already clear that atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be divided further. Many Indian and Greek philosophers like Maharishi Kanad, Pakuda Katyayama, Democritus, Leucippus all said that if we go on dividing matter, then ultimately we will reach a stage where we will get the smallest particles, indivisible particles which cannot be divided further, and from these particles matter is made up of, and they called these particles Parmanu or atoms. So, it is clear by the early research and study that atoms are indivisible particles, smallest particles which cannot be divided further, and they cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. That is why mass before and after reaction remains same, because in a chemical reaction no new or extra atom is created and no old atom is destroyed. So, overall atoms of each element in reactant and product side before and after reaction remain same. So, mass remain same. It neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So, law of conservation of mass is clearly explained in the second postulate. Now, third postulate of John Dalton's atomic theory. Atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. Means atoms of a given element, of the same element, are identical in mass and chemical properties. For example, you have an element called iron. So, in that iron, all the atoms are present, have same mass, same chemical properties. So, atoms of a given same element are identical in mass and chemical properties. Now, next postulate, fourth postulate. Atoms of different elements are different in mass and chemical properties. See, if you have 4 elements like oxygen, hydrogen, iron, aluminium. So these are 4 different elements having different type of atoms in them, which possess different mass and different chemical properties. So atoms of different elements are different or not identical in mass and chemical properties. Now, fifth postulate. Atoms combine in ratio of small whole number to form compounds. See, as I told you already, atoms combine with each other to form molecules, molecules of compounds. So, when these atoms combine, they combine in small whole number ratio to form molecules of compounds, such as carbon combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Here you can see one atom of carbon combines with 2 atoms of oxygen to form molecule of carbon dioxide. So here atoms are combining in the ratio of 1:2. So they are combining in small whole number ratio such as 1:2, 2:3, 3:4, like that to form molecules of compounds. Now sixth postulate. The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. It means in a given particular compound or substance, whatever the atoms are present and their number, that remain constant. Means there is a chemical compound or substance called water. Formula is H2O. So you can collect water from any source, from anywhere. You can prepare it by any of the methods. If you have water as a chemical substance or compound, then you will write its formula H2O only. Why? Because if that compound or substance is water, then it is definite certain that it has hydrogen and oxygen elements or atoms, which are present in number of 2 and 1. So it means in a given substance or compound, the type of atoms or elements and their number are fixed, are constant. It does not change. I think now you have got an idea that this postulate proves law of constant proportion. This postulate supports law of constant or definite proportion, which states that in a chemical substance or compound, elements are always present in fixed or constant or definite proportion by mass. So as this postulate says that in a chemical substance or compound, the type of atoms or elements present are constant definite and their number are also definite or constant. For example, in water, in this chemical substance or compound, only hydrogen and oxygen, these type of atoms or elements will be present in the number 2 and 1. And if we calculate their proportion by mass, then it is 1:8. How is that? Because there are 2 hydrogen atoms, mass of 1 hydrogen atom is 1, then mass of 2 hydrogen atom is 2. 1 oxygen atom, mass of 1 oxygen atom is 16. So simplify this ratio 1:8. So it is clear that in a chemical substance or compound, the type of atoms or elements present are constant, are fixed, and their number are also fixed. So their proportion by mass is also fixed, like here. So this postulate is in agreement with the law of constant or definite proportion given by Joseph L. Proust. So these are 6 postulates of John Dalton's atomic theory. One important thing to be noted down. That is, with the future discoveries, means discoveries which took place afterwards, due to that discoveries, many of these points proved wrong, because with that discoveries we found many exceptional cases. Okay, so many of the points proved wrong. In past or ancient time, all the Indian and Greek philosophers along with John Dalton thought that atom is an indivisible particle which cannot be divided further. But later on, we will study that it can be divided further. It can be divided into subatomic particles from which atom is made up of. But that we will study or learn in next chapter with more discoveries. Thank you. Have a nice day.